A man in Africa dug a massive pit in his backyard. At first, I thought he was digging a well, finally making a smart move, I figured. But the deeper he dug, the more suspicious it looked. Who digs a well in a perfect rectangle? And the pit was so precisely shaped, it was hard to believe it had been dug by hand with just shovels. So, what exactly was this hole for? Many might assume it was for a burial, but when you look at the size of the hole this guy dug, you'd think it could fit the whole village. After asking the village chief, it turned out this was actually a dry toilet. They dig it at least 100 feet deep, about the height of a 4- or 5-story building. The rectangular shape is intentional, making it easier to climb in and out by using hand and foot grips along the walls. The deeper the pit, the more waste it can hold, and theoretically, it could serve 3 generations of a family. Plus, the deeper it goes, the less air movement there is, which means the smell doesn't rise back up, making it surprisingly sanitary. Once the pit is ready, they build a wall of red bricks around it and pour concrete to form individual stalls. The finished product looks pretty solid. The only real downside? On rainy days, you definitely want to be extra careful when using the bathroom. To create a massive circular reservoir, the first step is to dig an enormous pit over 17.6 million cubic feet in volume into the ground, then lay down a layer of black waterproof geomembrane at the bottom. Once that's done, you end up with an incredibly huge circular water reservoir. Of course, the water inside doesn't just appear by itself. It needs to be pumped in from external sources. Workers use multiple pumps positioned in different directions to draw water into the reservoir at the same time, continuing until it holds enough water. Looking at it this way, it feels less like a traditional reservoir and more like a man-made lake. When you follow a drone's camera pulling back to reveal the full view, you can truly appreciate just how massive this reservoir is. To keep the water clean and prevent algae growth, workers also add a large amount of copper sulfate into the water. Naturally, many people might wonder, is it still safe to drink after adding so many chemicals? In fact, the water stored in these reservoirs is not intended for drinking. These reservoirs are typically built by agricultural businesses near fields and are mainly used for irrigation purposes. This guy decided to save some money by spending $500,000 on a house printing machine. His plan to build a house using 3D printing. All he had to do was set the house model on the machine, and it would automatically print it out for him. The walls would come out hollow, so utilities like plumbing and wiring could be placed ahead of time. It only took 2 hours to print a single wall. The real benefit of this machine is that it doesn't require manual labor. The guy could build the house on his own, saving hundreds of thousands in labor costs. People were curious about the hollow section, but the solution was simple. He used foam spray to fill those areas. This would provide great soundproofing and insulation. Plus, steel reinforcements are added inside, so there's no need to worry about quality. It's not going to collapse with one punch. As some might think, in just 3 days, he had almost reached the roof. The roof itself could be installed directly on top. 2 weeks later, he gave a tour of his new house, which turned out to be 2,150 square feet. It looked just like any other house, with even more attractive wall patterns. That gave it a more upscale feel. The key thing was the interior design, and if you move fast, you could be living in it within a month.
Did you know? Indonesia actually built a road over the sea. Sounds unbelievable, but it's true. What's even crazier? They used bamboo piles to build it. Yes, bamboo piles. This sea road stretches over 10 miles and it used 10 million bamboo piles. Each pile has strict standards, about 26 feet long, 3 to 4 inches in diameter, and perfectly straight with no cracks. Why so many piles? Because the seabed here is very soft, full of mud. Just filling in the sea won't work. Luckily, bamboo is abundant here, so they made bamboo mats from the piles, buried them in the sand, pressed down on the seabed, creating a stable foundation. Then they paved the road on top. Looks simple, but this bamboo mat work creates a super solid base, making the road rock solid. Do you think building a sea road with bamboo is smart? Know any other crazy materials used in big projects? Drop a comment and let me know.
If you ever dig up rare earths, my advice is don't share the location. This is Myanmar, where a worker is operating an excavator, using the bucket to scoop up earth from underground. But strangely, the soil that comes out is gray. Some say it's rare earth worth up to $50,000 per ton. Rare earth elements are often called the gold of the 21st century. Different types of rare earths can appear in different colors. For example, Yellowish soil, or even white clay like dirt may both contain rare earth elements. But here's the truth, rare earths aren't actually earth at all. They're elements that must be extracted and refined from very specific types of ore. Take this super strong magnet. For example, it's made using a rare earth element called neodymium. Even as scrap, a ton of neodymium-based materials can still sell for over $10,000. So if you found rare earths buried in your backyard, do you really think you'd get rich overnight? When you discover oil in the wild, never share the location. Do what this man did first. Use your hand to confirm whether it's really oil, then decide what to do next. He couldn't believe he had found oil this way. After going home, he immediately got a water pump and about a dozen empty barrels. His plan was to quietly fill the barrels before calling anyone from an oil company. He believed the oil could be worth a lot of money. If you want to know whether what you found is actually oil, it's pretty simple. If the liquid looks like gasoline or crude oil and it clumps together when you touch it, it's probably oil. If it spreads out or breaks apart easily, it's likely just a naturally decomposing substance. Also, if you discover oil in a major oil-producing country, never post about it on your phone or social media. Bury it immediately because you never know what might happen next.
Knock, knock, motherfucker. It's the United States of America, and I hear you guys got oil that isn't under my possession. So turn off the stove and return the oil to me before I have to resort to bringing democracy.
Check this out. These two oil workers are struggling to stop a gushing stream of crude. In fact, a lot of tasks in oil extraction still rely on manual labor, which is why workers often end up covered in mud and oil. So, how exactly is oil pumped from underground to the surface? The massive machine you see in the video is called a pump jack. That's right underground. Oil is brought up using a pump jack that drives the downhole pump in a steady, repetitive motion. It works just like an old-fashioned hand water pump. During this process, natural gas often escapes, along with the oil. But here's the thing, most of the natural gas from oil fields isn't valuable enough to extract. And if it's released into the air, it can be a serious explosion hazard. That's why you'll often see a pipe with a constant flame at oil sites. What they're burning off is that excess gas. So, what would you do if you discovered oil in the wild?
Oh, look at that.
Do you know why ice is added during concrete construction? When cement meets water, chemicals react. They form new solid materials that slowly harden into concrete. This is called the hydration reaction. This process releases a lot of heat. Too much heat makes the temperature spike. That causes cracks and weakens the structure. This is especially important in summer or big projects. Temperature control is key. That's when ice helps. It cools down the concrete. It slows the hydration reaction. This prevents cracks from forming. Besides ice, concrete needs curing after pouring. Plastic sheets are used to cover the concrete. The plastic locks in moisture and reduces evaporation. It creates a self-curing environment. This lets water and cement keep reacting. The concrete gets stronger. Usually, after covering, water is sprayed again after 12 hours. Curing lasts 7 to 14 days. So, adding ice to cool, watering to keep moist, and covering to stop evaporation all work together. This ensures strong, durable concrete. Have you seen any special concrete tricks? Let's talk about them.